Holy cow, 100,000 views overnight. I had no idea this video was going to go viral, but since it has, and there's a lot of people in the comments claiming that there are pictures of Earth from space, let's address it. The most common thing that people are saying is the Earthrise, the moon, the shot from the moon, Earthrise. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, this is not Earthrise behind me, but I'm going to get to that. I don't even know where to start. For those that don't know, many of the NASA photos that they've put out claiming it is Earth from space, you can go into to adjust the settings as shown here, and you will see the box around Earth. The same thing applies to the Earthrise photo. If you go in and adjust the settings, a box pops up. What does this mean? That means that this is an inserted image. There is no box around the Earth in space, last time anyone checked. So this is an image that was inserted, proving that they are lying to you. So in the next clip, I will show you the Earthrise doing the same thing. It's not as high quality. It's a little grainy. Rob Skiba does an excellent presentation on this entire thing. Rest in peace. Exposing how NASA fakes some of these photos. So one down and a few more to go. So here we are at the Earthrise photo. Now, like I said, this is a bad quality one, but if you go and do this yourself and adjust the settings, you will see it a lot clearer. You just really have to ask yourself at this point, why are we inserting the Earth into images and proposing them to be real? Why are there 0 full hemisphere? Let me be clear, because a lot of people got this misconstrued. Full hemisphere, like the entire half of the Earth, in frame between 1972 and the 2000s. So for 30 years, they couldn't take a single photograph of the entire Earth, the entire hemisphere. Why not? So I love how half the people in the comments are saying, oh, well, they couldn't get far away enough. That's why we don't have any. And then the other half of the naysayers are saying, we do have some. So are you all even on the same page? Do we have some? Have you come to terms that there are none? And if you don't find it weird that they couldn't take a picture in 30 years, I just don't know if I can help you at that point. And also, to those that are sending the Earthrise and not taking it a step back further and realizing that we didn't go to the moon, please see my IG story highlight titled Moon, because it shows the leaked footage of them faking the shots out the window. They never went. And this has been exposed from NASA's own leaked footage. Please go watch that, because sending me photographs from the moon, which we didn't go to, are pointless. Okay, so here we are at the famous blue marble, the one that was on everyone's cell phone when the new phones came out. Everyone thought it was a real photograph. First of all, if you don't think it's a red flag that you found out the most famous shot of the Earth was created in Photoshop, also, don't know if I can help you. But this is a fake photograph. I'm going to post a clip of someone describing it. But you got to think, they weren't able to take a picture like this for 30 years. Going to the moon, sending satellites out, taking pictures of things millions of light years away, far off galaxies, never once popped a little satellite up there and turned around and took a picture. And then people say, oh, but you don't understand how the composites work. They have to do it. I start hearing this justification that it all makes sense because NASA explained how this is how it's got to be done, so therefore it must be true. All I'm going to say is if you take this explanation as acceptable, and you're okay with it, that this is the only way that they're able to take a photo. You can't just, send a rocket up there and live stream us the Earth while the rocket, and then show it to us as a whole ball, and then maybe just take a screenshot of that. It's comical if you really dig deep. Check out this clip from NASA's own data visual analyzer, Robert Simon.
Nearly everyone interested in space has seen this picture. It was released by NASA and has the iconic name, the Blue Marble 2. You can find the picture everywhere, but one of the best places to find it is NASA's own website. This photograph is iconic because NASA says it is one of the most detailed true color images of the entire Earth to date. To put it in a nutshell, the picture is iconic. Well, amazingly, it turns out a number of internet sleuths have now found compelling new evidence that the image is indeed a fake. Now, let's take a look. At first the photo seems legit. I mean, it looks like Earth, the Earth that we have always been told we live on. Here we can see clear examples that the photograph has not only been doctored or constructed, but also strong evidence that whoever done the doctoring used repeating photographic templates. That is, they cloned parts of the image and repeated it. That is, the photograph is a construction. This does not happen in nature. Clouds do not repeat in the same pattern like this. The chances of this happening in the same photograph are low. The only way this could happen is if someone has cloned clouds and painted them on. This of course could be for a number of reasons. You could argue that NASA simply touched up the photograph for effect, or that it was a problem with the imaging systems that were used. But still the question exists, why is NASA releasing fake pictures of Earth? If they are going to release a picture of Earth to be used in museums and by educators, as they state for the Blue Marble 2, then should they not release real images of Earth instead, or manipulated or fake images? Since the natural extension of this is, what other images have they doctored? The Moon, Pluto, Mars? Maybe all of them. And if they are faking pictures to such an extent, whether by wanting them to look better, or other reasons, then what real scientific value are they? Isn't science about finding the truth? And is that not hard to do, when you are being fed inaccurate, or in this case, completely manufactured data? NASA says these images are to be used by educators, museums, and scientists. Which means, they are passing off the image as a real picture of Earth, when it is not.
Then in 2002, Blue Marble 2.0, NASA's Rob Simon made this. And it had wide appeal too. For example, it ended up as the default background on the iPhone.
I didn't even know until I bought an iPhone and turned it on and kind of did a little happy dance.
Simon's job is...
It's primarily taking data and making pictures out of it.
That's what this is, a composite of data sets from several different instruments translated into a picture.
To us, the really cool thing was the data set. Up until that point, there was no realistic color map of the globe anywhere.
So the land layer here comes from
the Moderate Resolution Imaging Spectroradiometer aboard Terra.
And the tricky part here was the weather.
So we actually had to take clouds out.
They stashed the clouds for later, went onto the ocean. That came from an instrument that measures phytoplankton in the sea.
Where it was low, I colored it dark blue because they're low mostly in mid-oceans. And then where it was a little bit higher, it was like a little bit brighter green.
Then add the clouds back in.
There's a small problem with it because there's a very slight gap in between each orbit.
So some of those are painted on.
It is photoshopped, but it's has to be.
Then
there was another layer to sort of simulate the atmosphere.
And then there's this little bright spot.
It's called the specular highlight. So it's the reflection of sunlight off of water.
Those are the pieces, but you can't just slap them all together.
It just didn't look realistic. It looks kind of flat, or the clouds are sort of too see-through. So I just hit Command-Z a lot.
There's artistry to creating the world.
What I imagine it to be. Unfortunately, I'm not an astronaut. I've never been to space. But I've looked at these images over and over again, trying to sort of get the essence of it.
So look, if you want to believe that the only way to get a photograph is by taking ribbons of imagery and splicing them together and blah, 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 that Mr. Blue Marble said, then that's fine. You can live with that statement, and that's fine. But the thing is even if I were to give you one of these photos, or give you the couple shots from the moon, what strikes me is that no one goes, let's just say I gave you the photo. Okay, I was wrong. That is a real shot of the Earth from the moon, the Earthrise or whatever. The person goes, haha, got him. He's wrong and I'm right. Moving on. You don't go, wait a minute. There's only one picture of the Earth that they took of the moon in 6 missions? One? They would have taken hundreds. They would have taken so many. Think about how many pictures people take before they go out to dinner. Bathroom selfies. I mean, I've taken more videos in my car today. Yes, it's 2023, but you're going to the moon. You would take dozens, you would take hundreds. So the fact that people are just looking to say I'm wrong rather than it set in and go, holy cow, even if those pictures are real, they still admit they weren't able to take a single one for 30 years, and now they're photoshopping the most famous ones. If that's not a red flag to you, I can't help you. And it's just so telling, because the only pictures that people are sending me are either from the fake moon missions, pictures of the Earth with a box around it, one that Mr. Blue Marble created where he's using Command-Z a lot, and you can literally see where the clouds are being repeated and copied and pasted. Or we've got ones like this. Look over my head over here. What's that say in the clouds? It says sex, S-E-X, plain as day. Disney, anyone? It just reminds you of some of the Disney movies. We all know that Walt and NASA had a very close relationship. We know that Disney and NASA were both tightly connected with the CIA and Nazis, Project Paperclip. So I don't know what they're doing. Is this just some mockery? But you're photoshopping the Earth, and the only pictures that people can find that they're sending me are sex written in the clouds and Photoshop boxes around it. This is the red flag. There should be tons. So then when you jump over and you're like, oh, well, here's a satellite, a Japanese satellite, the Himawari 8's taking pictures every 10 minutes. Are you going to accept that the only person that can take pictures of the Earth is some random Japanese satellite that started in the late 2010s? We're going to get to that next, because that has also been proven to be fraudulent. If you're up there, you wouldn't need to fake all of these images and videos. And please don't take my word for it. Do your own research. Compare NASA's photos to one another. Listen to their explanations. Ask yourself why America shrunk half its size in 3 years. Do you believe an organization that was founded by Nazis, Freemasons, and the CIA? I would encourage you to double check that information. Oh, but Justin, I just went on Google and looked up Earth from space, and there's tons of images. They're all over NASA's website. Guys, is that really all it takes? One Google search? You don't think we've done that? This topic has been raging on for 7 years now. We've verified NASA's photos. Look at these two pictures. 5 years later, same exact cloud pattern. Copy and paste. So find me one that hasn't been altered. And hell, find me someone that's taken pictures of our Earth that's not lying about it. If your girlfriend lied to you or your boyfriend lied to you 99 times, would you believe them the 100th time? Would you say one they just walked in and said it's not true, so therefore it's not true? I just went to the .gov website. It says here Jeffrey Epstein killed himself, so he must have killed himself. Guys, let's not be so gullible. We're being called gullible for just believing in some wild theory. You verify the evidence of the claims made. When you verify the evidence of the claims made about the globe, you find a bunch of Photoshop and fakery. There are now more questions than there are answers. So please, y'all, look twice before you just send me a photo of the Earth that you think is legitimate from NASA's website. Alright, so we're going to finish it off with the Japanese satellite, the Himawari 8, which alleges to take a full photo of Earth every 10 minutes. Now, I'll be honest, when this one started popping up in, I guess, 2016 and 17, people were sending it, we were like, wow, oh my gosh, maybe this one is really taking pictures of Earth. Sorry to disappoint anyone that has been sending this one over, or one similar, because I'm going to send it over to Paul on the plane, a friend of mine, to explain exactly what's happening and expose it for what it is, which is basically weather data that has been, weather simulation data that has been overlaid over to, again, create a composite, not a real photo. But before we send it over to Paul, do you guys like this animation? When you look up pictures of Earth from space and you look up satellites in space, you'll notice all of them, they're animations, it's cartoons. Think about all those old space documentaries you watched on Discovery or History Channel. It's always showing animations. It's never real footage. All those pictures of satellites in space, who took them? Is there another satellite hovering over that satellite? The satellite's cameraman? You just think about these photos you see. Zoom in on them. Ask yourself, does this look legitimate? Or does it look like it was created on a computer?
Just briefly show you how they generate a picture every 10 minutes with what appears to be accurate and current weather. This is basically what they do. Now, don't take my word for it, as I always say. Go check it out for yourself. Number one, they have already created and stored transparent images of the weather over the oceans using climate simulation software, which they openly admit right here that they've done climate simulations up to the year 2095. But it's actually the year 2100 on this FTP server folder, and here is one of the images. And following some of the other images that you can find where the land masses are transparent, and they use all this simulation software to come up with the weather over the oceans. You know, since our weather data comes from our ground-based Doppler radar, and it's impossible to use ground-based systems to cover the entire vast oceans, so that's where the weather over the oceans comes from, their software simulations. Number two, now for the weather over the land, the NOAA has supercomputers that take data coming in from all over the world, Doppler radar feeds, and crunch it all together and combine it with the weather simulation data over the oceans, so they come up with a complete composite weather quote-unquote map, which is then wrapped around a ball in their 3D modeling software programs, just like we've shown countless times in our previous episodes with the Earth and the planets, etc. So, then what we get are composite images like this that are created in the 3D modeling software, the current Doppler weather data over land and the simulated weather over the oceans, and it looks like this. So this particular image is on the FTP server and is date and time stamped with October 11th, 2017 at 11:05 a.m. I just chose one randomly. Notice the image shows you the weather for the whole ball and not just part of the ball that is lit by the sun at this particular time. No Terminator line or anything like that. Right? Okay. Now, here's the kicker. Go to the other file folder, which is the images that we get to see and are told are real pictures from space. But what they've simply done is taken the weather map picture of the whole ball they created, and they superimpose it over the blue marble data set, just like they said they did. So what you can see here is the final version of what we're spoon-fed and told is a picture taken by the Himawari from space, like, 10 minutes ago. This is the image from the same date and time, October 11th, 2017 at 11:05 a.m. And you can see that the weather is exactly the same. Watch it closely. There's your weather map comprised of simulated and Doppler radar being used to complete a composite image. They do this with the Discover satellite too, the Epic camera from 1,000,000 miles away, they tell us. Ridiculous. Okay. Now, also notice the final image has a Terminator line added in to try to make it look like a real picture from space, which drives a nail in the coffin of the Himawari because the weather data shows it over the whole ball completely. But they have to add a Terminator line to show the Earth only partially lit by the sun based on the time of day that the photo is allegedly taken. So if this is a real picture, how did they know where to put the clouds and weather on the part of the globe with no sunlight? It's completely dark there. It's all right here, guys. They are faking space. Hey, we all fell for it for a long time with their Doppler radar and weather simulation software building a current weather picture and wrapping it around a ball in 3D software and pasting it onto a black background like they do with all the others, adding a Terminator line and calling it a real picture from space. Himawari debunked once and for all. This has been Paul on the Plane. Thanks for watching.
So you mean to tell me that the small handful of purported real full photographs of Earth from space are all using trickery? Come on now. Conclusion. If you have to use a cardboard cutout to fake the image of the Earth on your trip to the moon, if you have to use Photoshop and Command Z, as he put it, to create the blue marble, and if you have to use weather simulation data to create a composite from a Japanese satellite and then pass it off as a real photograph, ladies and gentlemen, there is only one thing you should be asking NASA at this point.
Why the f you lying? Why you always lying? Oh my God, stop f***ing lying.